everyone, it's Nora from Nora's Ark here. It is the middle of May in Wisconsin, and we're not sure if it's spring or summer because it's a hot one today. And no, we're not doing laundry outside to take a break from the heat. Today we are planting our oyster mushrooms in laundry baskets. Last week we planted our perennial wine cap mushrooms underneath our grape plants, and this week we are doing our oyster mushrooms, and those are annual mushrooms, so they won't keep coming back. We're doing those in laundry baskets. So today in this video, we're going to tell you the supplies that you need to grow mushrooms in laundry baskets. We're going to go into how you do it, and then we're going to talk about the timing of it all. First things first, what do you need to grow mushrooms in laundry baskets? Well, obviously you're going to need some laundry baskets. We just got these laundry baskets from online at Walmart, and they're really lightweight and they have a lot of holes in them. So the mushrooms will, when they grow, they'll poke out of those holes in the laundry baskets. And then the next thing that you're going to need to get is a straw bale. So you're going to want to grow or fill up the laundry baskets with straw. And so you need to get either a straw bale or you can get some chopped straw from your hardware store. We really like to get the straw bales because they're really cheap and they go a really long way. We only used like half of our straw bale and we're going to be able to fill up all 6 of these laundry baskets with it. And then something important to mention about that too is that you want to make sure you get straw and not hay, because hay can contain a lot of seeds, like weed seeds, and that can grow and that can kind of inhibit your mushroom growth. So make sure you get straw and not hay. And then the last thing that you're going to need is your mushroom spawn. So we are doing Italian oysters today, and then we're also doing blue oyster mushrooms. And it specifically is grain spawn. So this is organic grain spawn. We got it from North Spore mushrooms. We're not sponsored by them, but they just have really high quality products. And we did a lot of research and found that that was a really good company to get mushroom spawn from. So once you get your mushroom spawn and you get your straw and your laundry baskets, then you'll get to planting. Now let's get into the most important part. How do you actually grow mushrooms in laundry baskets? The good news is that it's actually really simple. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is get your straw soaked. We just use our Gorilla Cart wagon, and then we put a bunch of straw in there and we kind of break it up also when we're taking it out of the straw bale. So we'll break it up and then we'll put it in the wagon, and then we cover it with water. And then what we want to do after that is we push it down, and then we put the laundry baskets with some bricks in them and set it on top, so that way the straw stays submerged because it just likes to float. So you'll soak it. We did it for about 30 minutes. And then once it's soaked, you'll pull it out of the wagon and kind of just wring off that extra water. You don't really have to like wring it out, but pull it up and then let the water drip off, and then put it on a tarp and just kind of let it dry out for about 10 minutes or so. So you just want to make sure that the excess moisture has a chance to drain off of the straw. And then once you have your straw prepared, then what you're going to do is grab your laundry basket and put a layer of straw on the bottom, just like a handful or so. And then you'll start layering your mushroom spawn on top of that. You'll do a layer of straw, mushroom spawn until you reach the top. And they call that a lasagna method of planting. So you're just making a mushroom lasagna, but we're planting mushrooms. And then after you get it all the way filled up, you're just going to want to make sure to label it with the specific variety that you're doing. Like I mentioned earlier, we're doing Italian oyster mushrooms in 3 of our baskets, and then we're going to do blue oyster mushrooms in 3 of our baskets. And we'll just put a label on there with just a plant label, and then we just put it on here with a zip tie and put it on the handle. And then after you get it labeled and everything is planted in there, and one other thing that I did want to mention is that when you're doing the layering, make sure you don't press it down too hard. You want to make sure that there's some like aeration in there and that the mushrooms have some room to breathe. So you don't want to pack it in too tight. But after you get it all planted, you get it labeled, then you'll just give it like one more watering just so you can make sure everything's good and soaked. And then you'll want to put it into a shady spot in your yard. And that's another reason we really like these baskets, because like I mentioned, they're really lightweight. So it's really easy to move them around if you find that you put them in a spot and it doesn't get as much shade as you want, or maybe there's gonna be a really big rainstorm, so you wanna move it out into the rain that day. That's really helpful when you have these lightweight laundry baskets, just be able to move around like that. And then, like I mentioned, I know I mentioned water a few times, but mushrooms love water. So you're just gonna wanna make sure that you give these a good watering if you don't get a lot of rain, and make sure you keep the moisture high in here so that way you can get a good harvest of mushrooms. So as you can see, it's pretty simple to grow mushrooms in laundry baskets, and that's one of the reasons that we chose this method. So now that we know how to do it, let's just talk about the timing of everything. This is where we're going to put our mushrooms. There is a nice shade that we get from our big birch tree right here. So we'll have our mushrooms right here, and then we might actually move them into the garden eventually, so that way we can just water them with the rest of our plants. But this was a really good spot that we had them in last year, and they did very well over here. Now that our mushrooms are in their final home, let's talk about the timing of all this. So the first thing I want to mention about timing is with oyster mushrooms, you want to wait until you know that there's not going to be any more frost. So a frost will kill oyster mushrooms. So you want to make sure there's no more danger of any more frost before you actually plant those. So that's why we're doing it in mid-May here in Wisconsin. And then the other thing I wanted to mention about timing is that how long does it take for them to grow? So last year we planted them around the same time, and a month later we got our first flush of oyster mushrooms. So as you can see, it happens pretty fast. And the other cool thing is that once you start seeing them poking out of the holes in the sides of the laundry baskets, it's like a matter of days before they're like full-size mushrooms. So it's pretty cool to watch, because it almost seems like you can see them growing in real time. So it's a really fun experiment, and it's definitely super fun and simple to grow oyster mushrooms. So we definitely encourage everyone to give it a try. If you learned something from this video today, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe to our channel so that way you can stay up to date and see how this mushroom harvest turns out.